2021. And today we're really excited to announce our guest speaker, our first male representative, Reece from Define Alpha, and our wonderful director, Nadia from the clinic. So welcome. I'd just like to hand it over to you, Reece. Can you give us a bit of an introduction to Define Alpha and what it's about?
Absolutely. So my name is Reece John Gonellis. I started Define Alpha after a really tough time in my life. I was going through a really tough breakup, and I lost myself completely in the midst of a lot of mental health issues and stuff like that between myself and my partner. Going through that experience for me, I become very disconnected with who I was as a man, and felt like I really lost myself.
Yeah. And
that process was really hard on me because I lost everything that I love to do, my passions, all the things that made me excited. I just felt like my life became very numb and bleak. It almost felt like there was like these storm clouds that came over my life that I couldn't shake. I just never really saw the sun anymore. And through that experience, when I was reaching out to people, I felt like people weren't very authentic with the advice and the help and stuff like that they would give. Like, say for instance, I Googled how to get over this, or how do I feel less insecure or become more confident. People would give you those bullshit lists like 5 ways to, build your confidence and things like that. And no one ever shared their story. No one was ever authentic with what they talked about, and I never felt like I was heard or could connect with anybody. So I wanted to start Define Alpha as a place for men to come, in which I would share my own story and the things that are tough in my life. And I could basically create a document and a record of my growth as a man into the man that I want to be, and into the best version of myself, so that other men could maybe learn from the things that I struggle with and can then become their best selves.
I love that. And in a way, you're also giving like inspiration and sort of opening other people's minds as to how can they create something out of, let's say, the pain or the disconnection or the death. It feels like the death of yourself or the death of a life when you go through these huge breakups. And I think that's really powerful for men who sometimes I feel like in society get trapped at feeling like they can't be emotional or expressive or talk about something, or it's a sign of weakness, which it's not. It's an actual sign of strength. So we were really inspired by your business and what you offer for men. And I think I know that you touched on something about the imbalance that you're noticing out there in society lately. Can you sort of shed some light on your thoughts on how you feel there's some imbalance going on there, especially for men at the moment?
Yeah. Well, I think in the world, or in the universe really, we have extremes of everything. And you see it a lot in politics. You see left and right wing politics and how they fight against each other. And you see it in nature in every way. But I think for me, or within every person, you have a balance of masculine and feminine energy. And your masculine energy is your drive, it's your ferocity, it's almost like your passion, that like burning feeling of strength that you feel inside of you to get things done. And then your feminine side is your sensitive side. It's your connection with the world around you, your emotions, and your ability to listen and connect with other people. It's like that nurturing side of you. And everybody has a balance of those two energies. And obviously women, being women, have a higher balance of feminine energy, and men have a high balance of masculine energy. That's what creates the polarity between sexes and drives sexual connection, all those sorts of things. But, when you fall out of that balance within yourself, your natural balance, in any one moment, because your natural balance will change depending on what situation you're in. But when you fall out of that balance, that's when you start having a lot of problems in your own self.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
So how do you kind of know when you've fallen out of balance? Because can you give me an example of that perhaps?
Yeah, absolutely. So the best way, really the only way to understand whether you've fallen out of balance with your own self is to have a really deep understanding of who you are. Now, I'll give you an example of my own experience. Growing up, I was always very, hyper masculine. Always succeeded in sports, always tried my best. Never really felt a lot. I never was very connected with my feelings. And got leading into my, this relationship that really, caused a lot of pain for me. I was very disconnected at the start of the relationship, and that caused a lot of it ultimately caused a lot of mental illness for my partner and a disconnection between us both. And when I become aware of that, I sort of shifted, like, because I cared about it so much, I shifted my thinking from going all about me and being so driven on my pursuits, you know, in my masculine masculinity, to being more focused on helping her and being more sensitive and nurturing and stuff like that. And being a man, and a lot of men experience this, they want to be a fixer. They want to fix things. And oftentimes you can't fix
You can't fix someone. It's always someone's responsibility to fix themselves. We can support each other when we feel broken, but it's taking on that responsibility essentially that wasn't yours. So you tried to
overgive and overfix and
then so that took you out of alignment with your masculinity, like that.
Yeah, my pure masculinity, like who I was.
Yeah, so
and that took me way out of alignment with that and threw me deep into an overly feminine state, which is not overly female state, but overly sensitive for who I was, in my core, right? And then everything fell apart and I lost myself completely, right? And it was really, really tough. I lost all my confidence. I've always been very driven and I always knew what I wanted to be. Like, since I was a little kid, I wanted to be a monster truck driver, and then I loved dinosaurs, and I wanted to be a paleontologist, and then I wanted to be an electrical engineer, and then but I always wanted to do something big in the world. Always wanted to change the world in some way, and I lost that, and that was a huge part of me. I dropped out of all the sports that I was training, all my strength training, everything.
I can actually relate to that because I also had the same experience being dominated by a man in a relationship, and I became everything he wanted to keep him happy. But at the end, it cost me my health, my mental health, like I wasn't standing in my power. Friends, you know, I lost everything, and that was my identity. But he wanted that to feel the control and to feel confident, and I gave it to him without knowing that that's what I didn't know I was doing it, but I wanted to appease him because it was a female thing of wanting to make your partner happy. Much the same, I completely lost my identity. And it destroyed me in a way, just like what you said. Have you ever experienced anything like that as well in a series? You probably haven't.
Definitely. Like, I have to a degree, like where you are kind of pouring your cup out too much. You know how they say, fill your cup fast, then you can feel the outpour can fill others.
Right.
And I've definitely been in that situation, and the way that I was coping with it became very toxic and bad.
Yes,
like,
it's a toxic state.
Yeah, and it's very worrying. But like, to follow on that, like, I saw the other day you posted about like how you get out of that rut, and that's just as important as well. So I think in that case you ran up Mount Lofty, but I think your whole point behind it was that you just need a change of pace. So like, tell us about that. Like, what was the initial things you did to get out of that big rut?
So there was a long period of, you know, they say time cures everything. That's a bit of a myth. Time doesn't cure everything, but I think that work and awareness and giving yourself space cures everything.
Yes, agreed.
Time just as itself, letting things be, simply, if you just let things be, you end up repressing a lot.
I agree with you. You can't just rely on time. But you can fasten it too. I'm like this. If I want to fix something and something's wrong, I will address that. I will face it. I will feel it. It might break me down a bit, but through the breakdown, I break through, and I've made it quicker. But then time does eventually remove it. The deeper I remove that, but if you don't do anything, and you just expect time to fix it, well, you know, gosh,
that's
will
the
it ever?
biggest thing. And it just doesn't get fixed. And I mean, I know this. Like, after that period, I spent a lot of time on myself. Used to do a lot of meditation. Used to go to yoga a lot because I recognized in myself that I needed to face everything that I was feeling, and they were things that I wasn't willing to experience. I didn't want to feel those things, and that disconnection between what I was feeling and what my ego wouldn't let me feel, and that's where the pain was.
Absolutely.
And diving deep into that and really facing those fears was really tough. And
it takes courage and balls.
Yeah, for sure. And what happened was it delayed. It's quite a dichotomy because it delayed me getting better fast. You know, a lot of people will just leave a relationship, go sleep with a bunch of people, and we'll go drinking, and they don't progress as human beings.
They essentially get back into the same situation though, because they're still holding the same thing, the same point of attraction, the same ideals and values.
Like if you go out and say for instance you're having a bad day and you go out and get drunk, you go home and get stoned or something like that, you can just completely ruin how you can completely cut off how you're feeling in that moment.
But that's what a lot of men do. Like a lot of people do. They will use addictive behaviour in so many different ways.
Sex is the same thing.
Sexual, you're right. And in a way, that's the most disempowering way to use sex.
Yes.
To stop feeling, to numb yourself, to block something out. Like that's not actually using it in a positive way that uplifts other people. You're using things and people.
Yeah, you literally are, and it's no different to an addictive substance. So especially from a perspective of your own mind, like your mind sees it as something in which it can nullify everything else you're feeling.
Absolutely.
So for me, I dove right in and I really faced everything I was feeling. And it delayed my progress of getting to where I wanted to be. But ultimately, after about 9 months, a year, and then especially to where I am now, it gave me the strength and power. Yeah, like it's almost like it was this slow burn, and then next thing it was boom.
I have a lot of respect for that, because I think even when you think it's delayed, actually I think it might feel like that because it takes you longer to get back to life because you're busy feeling and processing and facing, which most people, they don't want to do that work. But in fact, it changes your whole life path when you do that. You realign yourself with what you actually wanted, which was the whole reason for leaving.
Yeah.
But most people don't even get that.
Yes,
it's just like that. Let's fix this. Yeah.
So what was those, like, just to flag for people, because sometimes people don't even know what is healthy and what's toxic.
The toxicity came when for me, came from when I stopped doing the things that made me happy and what made me me.
Yeah, you became overwhelmed.
Exactly.
In addressing her.
Yeah, and that's where the toxicity came, and that's where the disconnection with my own self came. So after that stage of awareness on finding myself and like really understanding how I was feeling and where I was lost and like what things I used to do. I used to do a little journaling and stuff as well. So I think about who I used to be, the things I used to want to do, and where I'd straight away from that path. That's when I felt like I had, with time I built the courage to then start facing those things physically.
Yeah.
So I started doing the things that made me who I was before it happened.
Yes.
So I started weight training again, doing strength training. I went back to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, yoga. I really started doing the things that made me me. I started a business. I started 2 businesses, and those things are what gave me. It's like they're extensions of my own soul and person in the external world. You don't want to reach for things outside of you, like sex and drugs.
Yes, you want to build it from within.
You want to basically project who you are outwardly and make that manifest in the world around you.
And strengthen that.
Yeah.
Because really you would have lost confidence in
I was unbelievably insecure.
I know that feeling.
And I was miserable. Like the world was numb. And then losing her was just life shattering because I felt like shit. Where I used to have a vision on what I wanted to do with my life, she then became that. And then when she disappeared,
you didn't know what you were holding.
I didn't know who I was anymore, right? Yeah. So that just shattered me completely. But I had a great support network. My friends were great. My family was amazing. But I didn't lose contact with my friends, but I didn't hang out with my friends anymore. I just knew I was a totally different person, just completely different. And I knew that I needed to get back on track. And it was a really, really hard process. But I think the 2 things you need to do, and this is the path, it is first building awareness for yourself and understanding who you are at your core, and really understanding yourself through meditation or yoga or just introspection, whether it's journaling, whatever. And then when you know who you are, you have to face who you are physically. Like do the things and manifest those things in the real world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And do the things that make you feel happy, that you feel passionate about, the things that make you feel inspired and happy. And that is what ultimately pulls you out to who you are.
It is absolutely true. It's just so inspiring to see men who are talking about that, because I think it's a strength for a man to feel and have emotions and express himself. And we really want to promote more of that here with all the things that we're doing. So it's an honour to have you as our guest, Reece, and thank you so much.
Cool.
Well done. Bye.